Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. Yo, I'm super excited. So in this video, we are looking at charting, just charting tips. And this is how I chart. And when I look at the market, these are some of the things that immediately, it's like I've done it so long, my eye immediately goes to certain places, right? And it's a gathering spot if nothing else. But let me first go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, because we learn and we grow together, right? So with that being said, let's get started. We are looking at NASDAQ or NQ. I normally don't trade this, but when I seen it this morning, I was like, okay, I'm going to show how I normally go in and chart, right? So as of now, I need to turn this mouse on. Let's see if we can get that working. Okay, so as of now, looking at NQ, this is the 30-minute chart. I like to look at the 30-minute chart because if I were to look at a smaller time frame, that's just too much activity, right? I just don't like to see a whole bunch. My eye will immediately just jump, bounce, dance type thing, right? So looking at NQ, the gray shaded areas is lines that I had previously drew as a support place, meaning I've looked at this chart before and I've marked that area and I've graded out. And as you can see, price had some trouble in that area. I don't even remember the last time I've looked at this chart, but today I'm using it as a teaching purpose only, right? So as of now, I marked this level here because I knew something stopped us at this place here. So looking over to the left, that if you look here, that's where the body of some of these candles are, like here and here and here. That's where the body of these candles are. So I'm going to go to that 5-minute. If I was looking at that 5-minute chart, that blue line, I knew that I could possibly have trouble, and I'm going to see if I can bring that down. When it broke, looking at it, let's go back, looking at it on this 5-minute chart, I could have very well entered the trade. It broke out of a gathering spot. It made, a higher high, 3 higher highs is what I like to see. And then it broke higher than this candle, which was here. So I could have very well entered the trade based on what I was seeing there. Now, my MACD gave me another confirmation to enter the trade. Again, I did have 3 higher highs. So I could have entered this trade to the upside for a quick scalp. Why? Because I would have already had this line here marked based on what I saw on my 30-minute chart, because I knew that this was a gathering spot or a trouble place before. So seeing that I would have had trouble in this place, I would have watched this area. And I don't like to trade the sideways movement because it can give me a strong move up or a strong move down. So had I entered this trade, I would have known that I could have had trouble in this area. And in my opinion, that would have been a quick scalp. Again, everybody trade different, and what's important is trying to come up with a strategy that works best for you. That's what's important. So again, looking at NQ, we are going in just trying to figure out some places that we can go in and mark on our charts as our, charting, right? I always say that's charting tips. And this is something I spend a lot of time with on the weekend, but it seems like immediately my eye goes to that place. So I marked this level here based on what I saw over on this side, and price had gathered in this area, right? I had already had this level marked, which was kind of close to this line here. So I knew that I could possibly have trouble in this range, right? And I always try to find that range of where I could have trouble by looking at my 30-minute chart. If I go to my 1-hour chart, I can still see it, but it's not giving me the view that I like to see. And if you like the 1 hour, use the 1 hour. If you like the 4 hour, use the 4 hour. Whatever it is that you like, immediately my eye goes to, I can pick it out on this 30-minute chart, right? So now, being that, I've already marked this area here, something stopped us in this area. Do you see where the body of these candles are here? Something stopped us here, something stopped us here, something stopped us here. And if I look over here, something stopped us here, something stopped us here. And because I had that many something stopped us places, I'm going to go and I'm going to mark that. Why? Because something stopped us in this location, and I need to remember this location, because if I've been at this place before and had trouble, guess what? is coming back to this place again. And they always say sometimes history repeats itself. This is definitely one of those examples, because if I had trouble here, I could very well have trouble in this area again. So I'm going to mark that area. And normally, it's whatever color works for you. However, if I had a whole lot of colored lines on my chart, it would kind of make my eye dance all over the place. So normally I would grade that out. If it's a fresh line, it's a blue line. If it's a older line, it's a gray line, and it's a dull gray, so it's not going to really interfere with my when I'm looking at the charts. But again, with charting, you have to find a way that works best for you. What's important is the location, because I need to know that this area here is a place where my price we had trouble in this area. So I'm going to mark that, right? So moving up, if we should break this level here, where is my next level of trouble, right? So looking at this here, again, we're looking at the 30-minute chart. I'm going to go to about right here. It looks as if we had some trouble in this area here. And why? Because this candle, and it seems like, the bottom of this candle, we had some trouble in this area here. I call that a zone. That was a zone that we had trouble in here. So if we break this level, we could very well have trouble in this level. And you see, I already had this level here marked. Well, guess what? We've broken past that slightly. So will I mark this area here? It's totally up to you. If that's how you chart, I could possibly mark this level, gray it out so that, it's not so overwhelming for me. I'm going to change that from a blue line to a gray line, just so that it's not too overwhelming for my eye, even though the high of the candle is up here. So I know somewhere in this area here, if it break this blue line somewhere here, I could very well get stopped out. So this is how I just normally go in and mark where are my trouble places. When I say where are the trouble places, I'm going to make that a gray line just so that it's not overpowering on my eye, immediately, right? So, okay, now where are the trouble places? This is where we are as of now. If by chance we break this level here, we could possibly have trouble at this place here, which is, that's an area that we had resistance at previously. Breaking this level, we could possibly have trouble here. Why? Because we knew price gathered in this place before. If we break this level, we could possibly have trouble in this zone up here, because we've already been here before. If we break these two smaller, I call those little micro levels, right? We could possibly have trouble, but if we should break those, this line here is where price was. So I need to watch this level. And if this, we break that level, we can come back to this high here. It's just simple charting tips and learning how to go back over to the left to figure out where price was. Just like I'm going to mark this just a little small area here. I'm not going to mark it. I'm going to delete it. But here, price gathered here for a reason. Do you see this is our zone right here. We traded in this zone for a reason. So, if I was trading, if this was something that I traded every single day and I just really wanted to know where, my trouble places are, I would mark that and gray it out just so that I can remember that. But I want to go to the 1 hour chart just to point something out. Do you see how price came back to this zone, from this gray line to this gray line, this support line to this resistance line? We've been here once. From this support line to this resistance line, we have been here a second time. From this support line to this resistance line, we've been here 3 times. So there's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to call this our demand zone. This is where price is coming back to. This is where our buyers and sellers are meeting right here. But I need to remember this location. Why? Because price has come back to this before, right? So that's something to be mindful of. As with this top zone here, this area here, as the high of this candle and these candles here, price keep coming back to this, get rejected and come down. Got here, got rejected, came down. So I need to remember that area. So if it's easier for you to remember them in zones, again, that's at the 1 hour chart. I like to use the 30-minute chart because it works better for me. Again, I'm going to go to this smaller time frame just to show you it's a lot of activity on this 5-minute chart, but being that I've marked my levels on my 30-minute chart, I can go down to a smaller time frame and I can see where I'm going to have trouble, right? So I can see that I'm going to have trouble. I could possibly have trouble in those areas. Would I mark this on the 5-minute chart? Maybe not, because I see that the 5 EMA is what's really holding me up right now. Now, if I drop, I can use my moving averages. My 20 EMA right here could very well be a support place. If I lose that area, I have the VWAP, the 5 EMA, 50 EMA, and the ATR trailing stop. So my concern would be in this area. Why? Because there's a lot of support in this area. I truly need to watch this area, because if I break this level, that means I've broken through 4 layers of support, because I have a gray shaded out area here, meaning we've been here before. So if we break through this level of support, that means we've broken through 4 layers of support. So we could very well decline back to these areas here. And it doesn't matter what time frame you use, because listen, we could very well mark this level here on this 5-minute chart, because guess what? Price came back to this level here. It's like immediately my eye go to the gathering spot. Price has gathered in this area here before, if I'm looking at it on this 5-minute chart, right? So we see that, if I lose my area of support here with my moving averages and a previous support line, my ATR trailing stop, all of those indicators that kind of helps us put the puzzle together, I know here immediately my eye goes to moving over to the left. Guess what? I can find support in this area here, because there was a big line. I didn't have any lines in this area to let me know that I could possibly get stopped out from this gray line to this gray line. I just added this blue line and this blue line because that is where price has gathered or stopped us out before. So right, looking at it on a higher time frame and then going down and trying to mark the levels again, if this is an area that if it's too many lines and it bothers you, we could very well turn this to a gray line, to where it's just not, I'm kind of putting it in the background, just kind of like it's there but it's not there. It's like I can see past that to let me know, listen, I need to watch this area. So now I know if I lose this strong area of support, I could very well come to this line and find support. If I lose that, I can come to this line and find support. And if I lose that, I can come to this line and find support. And y'all, it's just finding ways to help you put your puzzle together. That's what trading is about. It's really not hard to do. It's making sure you understand, where your support is, where your resistance is. And I always say where you're going to have trouble, because those are trouble places depending on how you're trading, right? So find those places that are trouble for you. And it looks like now we're breaking out of this area here. And let's just mark this area just really quick. If we mark this area here, which is our gathering spot. Now, keep in mind, when we go back to look at this chart a couple of days from now, this blue line will not be here. This 5 EMA is that blue line. So I'm going to make this a gray line because I want to point something out just really, really quick. If we go back and look at this chart in a few days, this blue line is not going to be here to help us, to let us know that, that we found support on the 5 EMA. So I'm going to mark this gathering spot because this is the low of this candle here. But if you look, there's some activity going on. There's a low here. There's a body here, a body here. We tested, came down only to get rejected and come back up. So I need to remember this area anyway. Let's say that minus this line, if I was to take this blue 5 EMA off, I still need to remember that this is a zone for us. Why? Because we've traded in this zone before here. That means we've had a support line, which is here, and a resistance line, which is here. That 5 EMA is in between, and right now that's what's holding us up. Either way, this is our support. This is our resistance. So I hope that's not confusing, but sometimes we have to break it down on a more smaller scale. So we went to the 30-minute chart, we marked levels. I came down to the 5-minute chart, we marked levels because it's on a smaller time frame and we can see it from a different perspective. So that's important. But charting is making sure you go and locate your support and your resistance, or your gathering spots. What caused it to gather in that area? What made the price stop in that area? Because there's a strong possibility that we're going to go back to that place again. So I'm going to go back to the 30-minute chart just to see where we are. And we're finding support here at this line, and we mark that line, right? So where our support is basically in this area here, our resistance is in this area here, and we knew that. So if we break that level, we could possibly have trouble here. Breaking that level, possibly have trouble here. If we should break that, there's another trouble place here. So if you're trading this, it kind of helps you know where you're gonna have trouble, and it also lets you know, which direction I need to be in, considering, most of the candles are going this way, but I know that I'm having trouble. So are we going to continue up? Then we use other indicators, right? The MACD is something that I use, and we'll talk about that later. That's something that I use to kind of help keep me in my trades. But as of now, I need to be able to simply just mark my support and resistance, right? So charting, again, is fun for me. I think it's fun because I like to figure things out, and I always like to say, okay, where are my trouble places? When I go to any chart, just like when I go to Bitcoin, I'm going to go to Bitcoin just because, right? I'm not trading it, but I've gone and I've marked places of these are trouble places. We've been at this place before, and when it make a new high, I like to go and mark those places. Why? Because there's a strong possibility that we're going to have trouble in those areas again. And if you're looking at Bitcoin, I don't have any blue lines here because I don't have any fresh lines that I've made recently. They're grayed out. That means we've been at this place before. So because of that, when we break this level, I know I could possibly have trouble from this line to this line. Now, can we get stopped out in the middle somewhere here? We very well can, but I do have an idea of where I could possibly have trouble. And keep in mind, I keep saying possibly have trouble. So just listen, again, trading is not hard. It's just being able to identify your trouble places and, using certain things to help you come up with that, or finding a strategy to help with that. So I'm going to go back to NQ because that's something that I've been wanting to watch and just try to learn the pattern and how it's moving. But again, y'all, this is what I see when I look at the market. I say that so often, and I hope that everyone, we learn and we grow together. So I hope that everyone is having an awesome day today. If you could, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.